again, everyone, and welcome to a very special episode of CXCY, brought to us by our friends at Cluetrack. Now, normally we take a deep dive into a singular industry, and we look at the data from thousands and thousands of reviews to see what we can learn both from within that industry and across industries. But today we're going to do something a little bit different, and I am very excited about it. You see, Cluetrack just came out with an incredible new report about the ROI of customer experience. What's ROI, you ask? Return on investment. It's the money behind customer experience. It's what we need to convince senior management that customer experience is something that we need to be focused on and that we need more budget for. If we can show ROI, that's going to make it a lot easier. Now, this report is unbelievable. It features 20 different case studies of real companies that in their own way have figured out how to calculate the ROI of CX. And then it has some incredible takeaways that any company can use. This report is like 70 pages and it is completely free. The value is unbelievable. So you have to go check out this report. Now, I am super excited today because we have two of the stars of this report here with us today. And I am so excited to introduce you to them. First of all, I would like to introduce you to Susanna Baque, who is the Senior Director of Global Customer Experience at SCIEX. How are you, Susanna?
I'm very good. Thank you.
We're so happy to have you here. Will you tell us a little bit about SCIEX and your role there?
Sure. So SCIEX actually delivers solutions for the detection of molecules, so really empowering our customers to advance in their research, in their testing, and really help them to reach those answers that they are looking for in a very precise way. So SCIEX is also part of the Danaher Corporation. So we are a big group in the life sciences space to also support customers in their journeys. My role at SCIEX is actually for the past almost 10 years, has been leading the strategy, the implementation, and the different programs around customer experience. So from the development of a roadmap until trying to prove the ROI, exactly as you mentioned, that's very important. Thank you.
Fantastic. So we got somebody in the trenches doing this every day, and that are certainly the best kind of people to learn from. Speaking of which, we also have Shweta Srivastava, who is the Chief Customer Experience Officer at Tata CLiQ. Shweta, so nice to have you here. Tell us about yourself.
Thank you, Dan. It's my pleasure to be here. Really excited to, have conversation on ROI as a topic. Tata CLiQ is an e-commerce company. We are in the phygital space where we are trying to provide seamless experience between online and offline space. We are into three line of businesses. First is Tata CLiQ Mall, where we are serving to probably price-centric customer who is looking for variety. Second is Tata CLiQ Luxury, where we are serving to customers who are looking for premium products, premium brands. And the third one is Tata CLiQ Palette, which is into beauty space, where we are selling all the beauty related products and serving the needs there related to beauty for our customers. I am Chief Customer Experience at Tata CLiQ, and my role is, I put it very simply, that I am responsible for defining and implementing strategies that bring customer to the center of everything organization does. And I have been leading the strategic and operational leadership role at Tata CLiQ, where my role is influencing CX agenda in the organization and getting management on board and try to achieve the goals we have set for improving customer experience.
I love what you said there, the customer at the center of everything. I think that is so smart. And what I want to tell our viewers is you can make really good business decisions that make your company a lot of money by putting the customer in the center of every decision that you make. Sometimes people think that's a trade-off, that, well, if we do what's right for the customer, we're not going to make any money. No, you can actually do both and end up incredibly successful. And one of the things that I'm so excited about this conversation is that we have some very interesting diversity here. We have 3 continents represented. Shweta is in Mumbai, India. Susanna is in Barcelona, Spain. And Dan is right here in Chicago in the United States. So we've got 3 different areas of the world that we can talk about customer experience. We also have the fact that Shweta is in a B2C business, attracting consumers, and Susanna is in a B2B business selling to businesses. I can't tell you how many times I get asked whether B2B also needs to focus on customer experience. And the answer is an emphatic yes, as I know Susanna is going to share with you in a moment. So really excited to have lots of different views of this idea of ROI of customer experience. Before we get into your case studies, Susanna, I'd like to start with you. And if you could just tell us a little bit, how do you think about the ROI of customer experience, especially in a B2B space?
So, as you said, and as I kind of confirmed, proving the return on investment of customer experience is key, right? To get actually the investment, to justify even my position. So this is for B2B, for B2C, or for any sort of company. What I think it's very important is, what is customer experience, right? Because some people understand customer experience more in an operational sense. Other people more in like gathering the voice of the customer. And as Shweta said, I think customer experience is really putting the customer in the center, is really changing the culture of the company for long-term benefits. So I think that's also very important to consider. The return on investment can be of a specific program that you run under the customer experience, or can be overall improving the customer experience. What is the return on investment? And I think that's where sometimes the challenges come, because for a specific program, a specific implementation that of course requires resources, and you want to prove the return of that investment in resources, then you can focus on that program, define some metrics that can be either in more customer acquisition or customer retention or avoiding churn, and then you can prove the ROI. But the overall ROI of having a great customer experience for your customers, for your end consumers, for your business customers, it's a long-term journey. It's not something that you can measure immediately. And this is where the challenge comes. So you need to always manage these 2 levels, like the program or initiative or project level, where you can maybe prove a return on investment when you apply that specific outcome of the project. And then the long term. That certainly takes more time, but it's proven then that, you can retain more customers. And when you retain more customers, you also avoid a lot of cost of acquisition, or you can even support acquiring new customers. So I think that's the dilemma sometimes, right? That the short-term return and the longer term.
Yeah, that's a really interesting division that you've identified of the single project versus the long term. And I think that's absolutely accurate. Some of the metrics are going to be the same, right? We're going to look at things like customer lifetime value or retention rate, or even one of the things I really like to look at is referral rate. How many of our customers are referring us to other people? That's a pretty good sign that we're doing something right. But you're right; those numbers don't move a ton month to month, week to week, and they may take additional time to happen. Shweta, I'm interested to hear from your perspective, working at a consumer-facing brand. How do you look at customer experience and the measurement, and what are some of the metrics that are really important to you?
ROI is important, right? Return on investment, like Susanna also said, management and your key stakeholders want to know that with this investment, what is it that we'll get in return. And it's a very important aspect. And For me, Dan, ROI is a very scientific process or a logical process, right? You are running a program or a project, and there's a goal attached to it. And then for those goals, you have certain set of metrics that you have identified as a success measure for that project. And then you track those metrics, right? You, for long term, short term, whatever you do, and pre and post analysis, keep on tracking and see if the metric is improving, right? It's a very scientific and logical process. But for customer experience domain, it gets very, very difficult and challenging because of two reasons. One is some of the benefits that we get are not visible, right? Not, or you can call it intangible. You really can't put a dollar value to it or an amount to it and say this is what I got as a outcome of this project. For example, making customers smile, right? Now that smile is a wow factor, and that customer will help us get many other customers because that customer becomes the promoter of the brand. Now I cannot really put dollar value to the smile, but I have made one customer smile, and that is a job well done. So that is one challenge. And the second challenge that I see is defining the right metrics itself, right? So you have a goal for a program, and then you say, these are the metrics that I'm going to measure. Now, metrics for customer experience are like set of standard metrics. You have customer effort score, you have NPS, you have CSAT, you have purchase rate, repurchase rate, you have retention, and all of that is there. Now, which one to choose? Now, all these metrics are very broadly defined, which means that you are doing a lot of things and you do not know which action is actually leading to improvement and which action is actually leading to decline in the metrics. So that is a challenge, that another challenge we face, that how do we really measure it. And answering your last question, what are the key metrics? We look at metrics in three dimensions, and we call it 3 E's, which is efficiency, effectiveness, and experience. In efficiency, there could be, and I'm giving an example from e-commerce because I belong to that industry, order to contact ratio. So how are you reducing customer effort, or you can call it customer effort score also. In terms of second dimension, which is effectiveness, you can measure probably CSAT. In experience, you can take a holistic experience of the brand in terms of NPS. So choosing a right metric is also a challenge, but these are a set of metrics that you can look at while calculating the ROI.
So I'm hearing both of you say something similar, which is that, first of all, the metrics are not always clear and they're not the same with every company. And that also there's this difference between this project level and sort of the long-term value. I think one of the things that I've seen from working at large companies as well as consulting with many more is that the more that we can do to take the CX metrics and link them up with the financial metrics, then the better chance we're going to have of convincing senior management that this is important. So you mentioned, for example, NPS or Net Promoter Score or customer satisfaction. Well, if all we do is go to the senior leadership and say, hey, guess what? Our customer satisfaction score went up by 2 points last month. They're going to be like, okay, but what does that mean? And how does that help me? Well, if we can go and we can say, well, guess what? For the customers that have a satisfaction score over this amount, they tend to spend this much more with us. And so as we move more customers up this level of customer satisfaction, they spend more. Now the executive says, aha, now I get you, because now you're talking about sales. That's something I can relate to and I understand. I think similarly, we mentioned retention rate before, right? That is a metric that there is a very clear dollar amount to. If we know the lifetime value of our customer is $100, retaining them, we can calculate a value of how valuable it is to retain them. And so the more that we can take our CX metrics, tie them back to the financial metrics, because let's face it, the higher you go up in the organization, the more you care about one thing, profit. That's what you are usually gold on at the end of the day. And so whether it is increasing revenues or reducing costs, which luckily customer experience does both, that's the language that we need to use with them. All right, I am so excited to get into your case studies, which of course were featured in Cluetrack's report, the ROI of CX. I'm going to start with you, Susanna. If you could tell us a little bit about the case study that was included in the report from your company.
The main challenge, one of the main challenges that we were facing recently, after several years of course, measuring customer experience, trying to tie and measure the ROI, has been really making sure to have this customer centricity in all the decision making that it's done at the company. So we wanted to make sure that all feedback from customers, they're based on surveys, but also based on their transactions, based on complaints, were taken into account when making decisions of improving our processes, our systems, our go-to-market strategies, or even improving our products and services. So actually what we've done kind of to address that is creating a framework that actually collects all that feedback. And when I say feedback, is actually not just what customers are telling, is a lot of data-driven analytics, right? So is all the interactions that we track, all the behavior the customer has in our customer portal, all the direct feedback solicited via surveys, but also unsolicited feedback, all these texts that we can mine, plus a lot of market studies that we do, focus groups, the voice of the associates also who are frontline talking to the customers. How could we bring all of this in one place to really then make the right decisions? And for that, we created that framework, of course, enabled with all the analytical capabilities, with, of course, machine learning, a lot of natural language processing, and also analytics in terms of the metrics, the scores, and really have what we call listening teams, right? So key stakeholders in the business that actually listen to what the customers tells us, but also their behavior and all these insights that can help making the right decisions. So I think that's mainly what we have implemented. Of course, as it's highlighted in the report, we don't have a final measure of the return on investment of this approach. A lot of the effort is based in changing that mindset and that culture, and really when decisions have to be made in the product roadmap, in the processes or systems implementations, that they always consider that there is a space where they can actually listen from all this data, that it's converted into insights that supports the decision making. Of course, this is very high level, as explained, but we are doing it on a use case or use story level, right? So if it's related to a new product, or if it's related to a process that we need to improve in interacting with customers, we actually compile all this information and interrogate the data and to actually gain insights that help us to move forward. And what we are doing is, for each of these use cases, we actually agree with the business leaders and the key stakeholders what success means and what it's going to be the ROI of doing all this effort and then listening and enabling to make decisions. And in each case, it can be a different ROI. It can be an ROI in more efficiency or less cost, or can be an ROI on making the right decisions in terms of the new products. So we are still exploring that approach, but I think it was something that I think it was needed in the maturity of customer experience at SCIEX. I think we were good in collecting data. We were good in measuring the CX metrics that we've been talking about, but we needed that more holistic approach and really supporting this cultural change. I mean, it's not a radical change because customer centricity, of course, if you have a customer experience focus, is there, but really making sure that customers are in the center, as Shweta said, and really help you make informed decisions that are insights driven.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And I want to stress that there are not a whole lot of B2B companies that are as far along this path as you are, which is really impressive. And just the way that you're thinking about it. I just want to ask a quick follow-up question. Are you able to take the data from the voice of the customer and mix it with data that you have on how people are actually using your product to get that holistic view?
Yes, we have usability studies on how customers use the product. A lot of the product and systems are used through a software interface, but also through they are big instruments, right? So through interacting with the instrument. So we also gather a lot of this data. We have an IoT platform that can understand some of these metrics. And we are trying to combine everything. So it's like voice of the customer is behavioral data, customers that interact with either digitally in our customer portal or with our kind of customer care centers or with our technical experts. And then also this usability data. And that's what we are trying to bring all together.
Yeah, so important because unfortunately customers don't always tell us what they really need, or they think they need something, or they think they use something one way, and then in reality they use it a different way. So great that you're looking at both of those. All right, Shweta, I would love to hear your story from Tata CLiQ.
This case study that is featured in ClueTrack ROI study is about personalization at scale. And how do we provide tailored experiences to the customers, right? And we at Tata CLiQ really struggled for some time to actually come up with our own definition of what does personalization means. And we said that if I am able to send right offer to the customer with right content and message at the right time, which means as a customer, I get what I wanted, I get how I wanted it, and I get when I needed it. If I solve what, how, and when, I will be able to solve the use case of personalization. So we said, let's look at these three factors of what, how, and when. And we started working on personalization for our set of customers. And then, the challenge was how do we provide these personalized experiences at scale? And it is, very difficult to meet the needs of each and every customer and provide tailored experiences. So we, of course, the answer was a deep analysis of data, use the data and technology to create those experiences. So in this case study, we have, described the challenge that we faced of how do we actually achieve personalization at scale. And then we did a lot of data analytics, studied the data, micro segmented, the customer data of similar preferences, similar choices, similar persona. And with that, we found one set of cohort, one set of customers who are who were reflecting similar personas. And they were the customers who were very fond of premium brands, buying products from premium brands. They had set of choices, and those are kind of fixed in a certain way that they will only buy these products and brands. And it seemed that these are all HNI customers, so high net worth individuals. So we created personalization stack for these customers using data analytics and technology. We also went a little ahead to bring the human aspect in this, to provide a real time relationship manager access to these set of customers. However, we used again technology to manage the work of relationship managers also. So typically how it works is, these are some set of customers whom we have identified. These are very very special customers for Tata CLiQ, and we track their journey, their customer journey, through using technology. So the moment one of these customers places order on Tata CLiQ, it gets tracked, it gets queued to the relationship manager CRM queue. Relationship managers knows that the order is being placed by this customer, but technology manages the entire process of monitoring the customer journey of that particular order, right from getting it delivered on time, and taking care of returns and any other thing that we need to take care. Using technology, we provide triggers to relationship managers, where they can actually, if there's any breach of commitment, they get notified, and relationship manager proactively picks it up and tries to solve it for the customer before customer contacts us and asks for help. So we have used extensively data analytics and technology to try to solve this use case of personalization at scale. And in terms of ROI, we were fortunate that because it was not the set of customers are persona based, and they are HNI customers. We could really get NPS to see that what is the NPS, how the NPS needle moving for these customers. And we could see NPS jumping to 88 plus for these customers. We also looked at what is a repeat purchase rate for these customers, and we saw repeat purchase rate was also very high as compared to normal scenario. So we could actually get the ROI, and based on this, I presented back to the management and said, if we use technology to do personalization at scale, we can really get a lot of customers back on our platform, and we can actually boost our repurchase rate. So this was the whole case study that that was featured in the report. And ROI, we looked at through two metrics. One was the NPS of those set of customers, and the repurchase rate of those set of customers. So that was the case study all about, Dan.
So you were able to compare two groups of customers to see what the overall impact was.
Yes. Yeah.
Very cool. I come from a marketing background, and we do A/B testing all the time. And that's a great way to measure ROI and customer experience, is to hold out a certain population and focus on a different population and then compare them afterwards. So very smart. Loved both of those. And I don't know if you noticed, viewers, how in-depth they were. And this is why this report is almost 70 pages long, because these case studies are deep and meaningful and really give you a lot to chew on. So it's why I think this report is so incredible. I mentioned it before, but we're going to put the link on the screen right now for you to download this free report. All you got to do is put your email in, hit go, and by the time you open up your email, the report's already there. It's that fast. And you can read these two case studies as well as 18 more of them. Now, there are also 8 takeaways in this report, and we're not going to have enough time today to go through all of them. So I want to touch on a couple of them and just get some quick fire answers from you. So real quick, 30 seconds, just kind of want to know the importance of each one of these takeaways. One of the 8 takeaways is to ensure that the right VOC is captured. And so what I'd like to know, Susanna, is how do you figure out what data is important and what data you can ignore?
I mean, for me, what the data that is really important is the data that is actionable, that gives you insights that drive an action to improve the customer experience, to improve the products, to improve your processes. I think it should be actionable.
Yeah, that's perfect. You know, that we often talk about the 3 steps of VOC, that you collect it, you analyze it, and then a lot of people stop there. But the third part is you got to take action on it, right? If all you do is analyze it, then you put it into a report, you throw it on the CEO's desk, and guess what? It ends up in the recycle bin because the CEO doesn't need another report. So we've got to collect, analyze, and take action. And it definitely seems like you are doing that, Susanna. Shweta, let me ask you about a different takeaway from the ROI of CX report from Cluetrack, which is if you can't measure it, you can't improve it. So did you find, as you were putting together your program, that there just simply were things that you couldn't measure, and so you had to go in a different direction?
Some of the things that you really can't measure is instant gratification that you give to customer, which may reflect in NPS. It may not reflect in any of other metric. But for this particular case study, there was really we were really able to measure the outcomes. We were really able to measure the ROI. So there was nothing as such where we slightly struggled with this relationship manager equation, because we were actually investing in people and assigning relationship managers to these customers. And it was like Susanna said in the beginning, that it was a long-term investment. Now we are able to see when the repeat purchase rate is really high, NPS is really high, everyone is happy with the outcome. But that was the only part where we were really, there was a slight ambiguity whether we take this step or not.
Well, you also mentioned before the idea of creating smiles, and it might be difficult to measure the number of smiles. But what we can do is we can train our employees to attempt to create smiles for all customers, and then we can measure the overall impact of that plan. Even though we may not know exactly how many smiles we created, we might know the outcome or the impact of having tried to create smiles. So I think it's a very smart takeaway, but there are ways around it. If you find things that you don't feel like you can measure, like the number of smiles, there's still ways around it in order to get to that ROI.
Yeah. So these are instant gratifications, right? That are happening when the conversations with customers are taking place. Could be through technology, and interaction could be human interaction as well. So these are like instant gratifications. Like a smile on customer's face, really going out of your way to help customer. So all of that is, you really can't measure the outcome. That is what I wanted to add to what you said.
Excellent. The last takeaway I want to ask both of you, and this one says that the right technology is inevitable. So just quickly, tell me how important having the right technology is to being able to get to this path of finding out ROI. Shweta, why don't you start?
Right. So I'll switch and I'll take VOC framework from Susanna, and I'll tell you why right technology is very important. If you look at the VOC framework, the data, and she was explaining it is structured, unstructured, right? So if you're targeting both and you want to know you want to analyze the anecdotal, unstructured part of feedback also, then using a right technology, AI, ML driven technology, or any other which is available is key for success. And if you're not getting a right set of technology, which can actually look at the responses and bucket it into actionable insights, you will not be able to succeed. So I think it is very, very important.
Susanna, are you seeing the same thing? The importance of technology.
I think technology is inevitable, and having the right technology is very important, because we are not talking about kind of tens or even hundreds of interactions and data points. We are talking big data. A lot of interactions, a lot of data points, a lot of text in multiple languages that you want to mine. So you need technology to just collect, you need technology to analyze, and you need technology to extract insights and then drive the action. So I think as it says in one of the takeaways, technology is inevitable and the right technology should be the one.
Shweta, Susanna, thank you so much for being here today and sharing with us your wisdom, your experience. You've gone through all of it. And I know that even though we only had a short period of time to talk about it, that this took a long time. And you guys have seen the light at the other end of the tunnel. And we really thank you so much for sharing everything that you learned along the way. Thanks so much for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. I really enjoyed the conversation.
And thank you all for being here for another special episode of CX CY brought to you by ClueTrack. We're going to put that link up again on the screen if you would like to download this incredible 70-page report, the ROI of CX, featuring 20 different case studies. We only got to 2 of them here on the show today. There are 18 more plus 8 key takeaways that will help you and your business immediately. The report is completely free. All you got to do is click on the link, enter your email, and it will be sent to you instantly. For my friends at ClueTrack and the CX CY show, my name is Dan Gingiss. Thank you so much for being here. We'll see you next time on CX CY.